Around the grounds for Greenworks, Australia's ultimate battery-powered garden brand. I was in the garden yesterday.
Were you? Doing what?
Mowed the lawn. Great day to mow the lawn yesterday.
You don't get somebody to come in and do that job?
No!
What sort of lawnmower you got?
Just a little one that requires a lot of
You don't know what
work.
brand it is, do you?
No, it's got two names. Not Scott Bonner. No, I do know what it is. It's good. I love lawn mowing. Mowing the lawn and vacuuming the pool, my two favourite.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and being on my own. All righty. Tonight, Collingwood take on the Sydney Swans. But we'll get to that in a moment. I just want your take on last night because we've touched on with Sando. Adelaide did everything in their power to lose that game.
Things you don't hear is Chris Scott coaching masterclass. Why is it, Tim, that we only ever hear the coaching masterclass when Ross Lyon's involved?
Yes,
because it was a masterclass last night. They were in trouble, 30 points down with about 7 minutes to go in the first half, and that's where the game was won and lost right there. They kicked the last 3 goals, got it back to 12 points, and then the belief came and they had the 5-day break. Are you a believer that the 5-day break and they got stuck on their flight and they didn't get back till late on Saturday night into their beds? Do we give players an out in this day and age? It was 5-day break v 6-day break. You adjust your training session. Was there any fatigue element in this, Tim?
Oh, they don't train enough for me to worry about. The game is their training. They just basically have a light run in that situation. Players just want to play. They don't want to train. So 5-day break.
Yeah, I never thought when I was a player, whether it was 5 or 6, you felt good. Sometimes you felt good, and they were good. They were great. And we were thinking, here we go, Adelaide are the real deal. They've got Geelong. Geelong were in some strife, and they found a way to turn it around. And it was their pressure rating, really, and that's the concern on Adelaide is how do they handle that pressure when the team really dials it up, and they're tackling, led by Tom Atkins, who I thought was brilliant, and he was the one that got them going in that second quarter. They just forced turnovers. They scored from those turnovers, and you do have those question marks on a few of the players in the defence for Adelaide. Still ongoing. Hinge and Keane and Worrell. Laird had a couple of bad moments that he'd love to have back.
Briggs and Stratton.
Briggs and Stratton. Did they play?
No, that was the name of the lawnmower.
Oh, okay. You've been thinking about that the whole time. So basically everything I've said's just gone over your head because in your mind you're just thinking about Briggs and Stratton. I know Stratton was a good footy player, but I didn't think he played for the Adelaide Crows at this point in time.
Thank you to Tomo from Bunbury.
But then in the second half, it was the big guns. And Patrick Dangerfield, how he keeps getting it done at his age is just amazing. He just looks like he's super fit, intense. He's been played in a different role, and I love it from Chris Scott that even when he started the year, he was full-time forward, but now he's got that mix where he's starting in the centre bounce. But if you're a defender and you've got Patrick Dangerfield, you're worried. And even if he doesn't mark it, he just gives a contest that not many do.
As a coach, would you need to tell him what to do, or does he just pick and choose when he goes into the middle? When he's feeling it, he goes in the middle, he goes forward. He sat on the bench for a couple of brief times just to re-energise.
No, I think you've got to be aware of it because it has machinations for every other player. So if he goes in, then somebody's got to go forward. So I think as a club, you want to be aware of everything, but he's so effective in the midfield. But as a forward now, and not many players can do that. At the end of their career, go forward and have that sort of impact. He was best on ground last week. There's an argument to say he was probably in the top 3 last night. Jeremy Cameron was good with his 4 goals. But then we mentioned it with Sando, the running power of Bailey Smith and Max Holmes. It really is something that every midfield needs right now. Those guys that just keep on going. And it's like Pride of Jenny, the analogy of Pride of Jenny. When Pride of Jenny gets out in front, takes away the sprint from everybody else. And I think even if you look at Harley Reid this year, I think because he's been chasing so much, it's taken away his power. I thought that's what they did last night, those two, that Saligo and Dawson, they all struggled to have big impact because I think they were under fatigue.
Back to Adelaide Oval tonight for Collingwood and Sydney. Huge outs.
Massive
Houston,
outs.
De Goey and Schultz. Sullivan, Ed Allen and Will Hoskin-Elliott come in. No change at this stage. This game is also at Adelaide Oval. No change at Sydney.
If they win, I think I'm going to have to reconsider where I have Collingwood in the pecking order this year because they're big outs. Lachie Schultz has been their best player this year. Houston, of course, we know how good he is coming from Port Adelaide, and De Goey, whilst he's still building back to full fitness, he's important. Collingwood has won their last 9 at Adelaide Oval. Tim. Now, of course, that's not against teams like the Sydney Swans, but it is a great stat. I think in this one, I'm going to go with Sydney. I thought they turned the corner last week. Defensively, Dean Cox has got this team defending a lot better, and I reckon they'll find a way to get a win against an undermanned Collingwood.
It's interesting, the Joel Hamling 2.0. He was gone at Fremantle, couldn't get a game, goes across and is a key component of what Sydney's doing down back. He looks very comfortable.
Yeah, was he gone at Freo, or was it just the case of like Oscar McDonald? Oscar McDonald's he's definitely playing at West Coast in the defence at the moment, but Fremantle had the big three that were pretty fit throughout that period that still exist: Cox, Ryan, and also Alex Pearce. So sometimes you're just the fourth wheel.
Yeah, his knee injury came at a bad time for Oscar. He came in the team and did his knee basically straight away. Let's go to, so you're tipping Sydney.
I'm going Sydney in this one.
All righty. North Melbourne take on the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast Suns, we do believe, are the real deal. They bring in Holman. Budrick goes out. He's injured. O'Sullivan, Dersma and Zach Fisher return for North Melbourne. Bailey Scott, Whitlock, the kid who debuted last week, and Robert Hanson Jr. are out.
Question came through from Noddy there. Is Danger currently in the All-Australian team? Amazing at his age. Would he be in the All-Australian team as a forward?
He'd be in the squad.
Yeah, he'd be in the squad. Absolutely. Well, he's out of the 5 games, I've seen the last 2, and he's definitely been inside the top 3 players in those games. This one is fascinating. Everything points to Gold Coast. It's just about maturity now, isn't it, for Gold Coast? Can they keep absorbing the pressure? They're winning. Can they keep that going against a team who, geez, I was filthy on last week, North Melbourne, against Sydney, at home, had to put in a better performance. Their midfield got absolutely smacked by a Sydney midfield missing some big guns and not having their great players stand up. Heaney didn't have a great game. Chad Warner was subbed out, didn't have a great game. They still found a way. We know Goulden's not there. There has to be a response. And if there's not a response from North Melbourne this week, I'm getting to the point where it's Alistair Clarkson is in the gun with his position at that football club, because after all the time that he's been there, I'm not seeing any improvement from this group. And they're star-studded, absolutely by name. And perhaps Geelong has taught us, when you got Bowes and Atkins, that you need to have a complementary midfield. You can't just have all stars. And perhaps that's the case. And what's wrong with North Melbourne is they've just got all good players running through that midfield.
I'm concerned about their back line. So their back 6, Griffin Logue, Aidan Corr, Charlie Comben, Luke McDonald, who I'm staggered he's still getting a game, Caleb Daniel, they named him at centre-half-back. Why do they name teams? And Darcy Tucker. It's not strong. It's not a strong group.
No, it's not strong when your midfield's getting flogged. If your midfield's going well and winning, then I think it can hold up. Griffin Logue, he's a pretty good defender. I think Charlie Comben, there's a lot to like about him, provided there's pressure on the ball. If there's not pressure on the ball, I think those taller, less mobile defenders can be found out, like Rory Lobb. But if there's pressure, the high ball coming in, they're going to have a field day. Should be better, North. What do they need to win this year, Tim, for Alistair Clarkson to feel safe?
I said 8 at the start of the 8 games.
Do you think they'll get to 8?
No, I don't think so. Not at this stage.
So then he's under pressure and then Adam Simpson takes over?
Oh, no.
Loaded question. I know you're best buddies now with Simo.
We're best buddies.
Where is Simo?
We were best buddies before now.
Really?
We went down with the Titanic together. He's at the Masters, but he's
Did he ever feed you information?
No.
What are you smiling for?
I fed him plenty. All righty. Harry Edwards in, Jake Waterman, Liam Ryan, Jack Hutchison. So they're all in. None of them played last week. Brockman, Kelly, Long and Cole go out, all omitted. And something wanted to know why they're not named in the West Coast team in the waffle. They don't name them. They just play because you never know their ins and outs and their emergencies. So they'll become available. So they'll definitely play in the waffle. Harry Mackay back, Matt Cottrell, Matt Carroll and Corey Durden. Young, Cowan, Moore and Lord have all been replaced at Carlton. I want to play a very short snap of Harry Mackay. He spoke to his brother on their podcast, talked about the troubled times he's been dealing with over the last month.
I guess 5 or 6 weeks ago, late Feb, started feeling in not a great place mentally, and I think the most challenging part of that was me thinking I shouldn't be feeling the way I was, and everything in my life, to be really honest, was in such a great place. Football club, loved my teammates so much, was in a great place. That's why it was really scary. I guess you'd say it was really irrational to feel like that. As that progressed and unfortunately feeling in a worse and worse spot, I felt like I had to put on a bit of a facade to pretend to be okay when I really wasn't. As you'd know, I guess as a male and someone who would hang their hat on always turning up, being stoic, pushing through. But yeah, I had to put my hand up and say I needed some help. Since the moment I did that, the support and the love has been so profound.
And he's back. He's playing this week.
I think we've also matured as an industry, haven't we, where we hear personal reasons that you're taking time out. I think we're all accepting, and we hope to see the player get back to their very best and back into the side as soon as possible. That's the case, and I don't think there's any negative consequences or thought process for people out there, whether that be media or supporters.
Who wins?
Oh, I think Carlton win. They just have to win. Now, Michael Voss would be under a lot of trouble and scrutiny if they didn't. But West Coast just have to hang in. If you look at Carlton's first 4 games, they've led at half-time in every single one of them. So there would be doubts. The longer it goes, and Richmond kept posing those questions in round 1, you can run over them, because when they have momentum, Carlton, they don't put it away because they are a bit unskilled. But the last 4 times these teams have met, Tim, it's been average margin of 77 points in favour of Carlton, and they're going to struggle.
Lots changed since then, though. Carlton are not the power.
They're not as strong, but the 2 big keys, Mackay back in, Curnow. We saw what happened last week with Jesse Hogan. Yes, Edwards comes back in, but Edwards is no Jeremy McGovern in that side. So if the supply is right, and I think the supply will be right because they'll be fired up. But listen to this. This is the midfield going into this game. Cripps, Walsh, Chera, Hewitt, De Koning. That's a pretty good starting midfield for Carlton.
It is. Chera's just going. I don't think Walsh hurts you as much as he does. Cripps' body, he looks fatiguing.
There's a lot of sameness in that midfield. We spoke about gut running, didn't we, of the Bailey Smith and Max Holmes. If you throw one of those players into the mix for Carlton, I think it totally looks different. But this is West Coast likely sort of starting midfield. Williams, Baker, Graham, Gross, Hall, Hutchinson.
Yeah.
There is a big difference in those groups. And I admire McQualter for going down this path. And as I said at the start of the show, the kids at the West Coast would be feeling like it's Christmas. Not only that they're playing, but there's a trust element that the coaches back them in over some big names with Tim Kelly and Tom Cole going out of that lineup. But I think in the end, Curnow and Mackay will be the difference. But for Carlton to be contending, again, they need more from their small forwards. Guys like Motlop and Cottrell need to stand up and have bigger impacts. And Moy and the like.
You should be in Carlton.
Absolutely.
All righty. Western Bulldogs take on Brisbane. This game's at Norwood. And, of course, as we mentioned with Brenton, it is sort of, they've been winning ugly. Brisbane, they've made no changes. Johannesson, Hines and Cleary come in. Baker suspended, Vandermeer and Gallagher go out injured. Yeah,
I think they get it done this time, the Brisbane Lions. I think this is the time that they play their best footy because they've been slightly embarrassed. What Richmond did to them last week, particularly in red time, was quite significant. And there were some numbers that were alarming in that game. I wasn't sure on Brisbane at the start of the year. I think there's this, it's true when you win a premiership, there is a hangover, but also, you're not as prepared as other teams because of the extra time you have off and you celebrate a little bit harder. You don't have that eye of the tiger like potentially a Sydney Swans did coming back after a loss like that. And it's played out that way, but they've been good enough to win. You know who's a gun? They found another one through the midfield in Fletcher, Jasper Fletcher. Really stood up last week, really good skills. And they've got 3 father sons that have gone in when they've been at the top. It's massive, isn't it, for a football club if you get father sons, 2 Ashcrofts and Fletcher from a top team and you get a really good discount on those players. I think the AFL needs to address it.
We're doing for Greenworks, Australia's ultimate battery-powered garden brand.
Brisbane for me.
Brisbane for you. One other game before we take a break. Xavier Lindsay in for Daniel Turner. Disco goes out. Perkins and Settlefield are in for Essendon. Caldwell and Edwards' season is over. This game's at the Adelaide Oval, Melbourne and Essendon.
It's gone past the point of Melbourne showing spirit and fighting back and having a win. I think when you lose 3 weeks in a row, you've tried that. I think they bounced. They're pretty good early against Geelong. They gave everything, but then it's a system issue, and they've got a system issue in their front half. Bailey Fritsch is a concern with the way that he disposes of the ball and burns his teammates and then misses goals. He's a long way from where he was, and because they have problems in the forward line, Christian Petrarca's played a little bit out of position. It's not helping him, and I think Essendon, after a week off, will bounce back and have a win.
Yeah, it's a good game. Well, it's not a good game. It's an interesting game, probably one of the harder games to try and tip. We'll get a break away. We've got 3 games to go. We're going to dissect Richmond and Fremantle, St Kilda and GWS, Port Adelaide and Hawthorn. Let us know your thoughts. 0487 367 36. And Ruben Jimby from the Eagles will join us after 7:30. Thanks to Greenworks Power, Greenworks Quality, Greenworks Range. Your ultimate battery power garden brand is now here. I see the people walking around with the battery powered stuff. It looks like they go, just flick a button, battery.
Maybe for your Briggs
Yeah,
and
Stratton. Yeah, it's almost done.
Could be the way to go.
No, it's done. I'm going to go to Greenworks. There's no doubt about that. All righty, Richmond Fremantle. This is the game that starts on Sunday. It's an early start, of course. And there's been some changes, and big changes they are too, for both lineups, of course. Lawler and Armstrong go out. Lawler, got it right the first time. Jonty Four and Cam Gray come in if they play. It's their debuts. Hayden Young, Switkowski, Darcy, Reedy, McDonald and Aish in. They lose the three injured from last week, Jackson, O'Driscoll and Wagner.
Are you surprised by any of those ins? And just looking at the team makeup, so we find out a bit more later on because of the Sunday game, Liam Reedy and Sean Darcy both named inside the extended squad. Do you think they could make a move on Patrick Voss for this week only to take some of the load off Sean Darcy? Because if he rucks solo, he's likely to have to do 75, 80%.
No, you can't have Liam Reedy, Sean Darcy in the same team.
Can't do it.
I don't think so. There's a bit of lumbering.
Sam Switkowski, you happy with that straight back in?
It's a worry. He's a worry. His body worries me full stop.
He hasn't been. I'm a big Switkowski fan.
I know.
I reckon
he's the heart
and soul. He's the glue guy. He's the unselfish player that's been doing it as the high half forward.
Agree.
The Brian Myers sort of type, not quite as skilled as Brian Myers, but straight back in, it looks like probably Bailey Banfield will lose his position, or Dudley. Dudley couldn't lose his position, could you?
No, he's been good. He's averaging 10 or 11 touches with restricted opportunities. But look, he might be sub-Dudley.
What do you make of Justin Longmuir's comments? He was asked and pushed on Nathan Fyfe on whether he's in their best 23. He said, yes, I do, but only if he is fully fit.
Yes.
He's got to be injury-free. Yeah. Did you like those words?
Yeah, I like that. I like those words. It's got to be sustained moment.
So he's got to dominate Waffle, is basically what he's saying.
He's got to get through and not be sore the next week.
Yeah, but fully fit, I like that element that it's not just about getting through and not sore. I think you've got to be flying and playing well.
Yep. He's good enough. I still think he's a bit of a for an over.
You think
he's an X factor for
them. I think with O'Driscoll getting the injury, door slightly ajar if he puts in a good performance this weekend. Just before we get to the game, Richmond and the handling of Noah Bolter, they've sort of put it down to conditioning. Do you think there's been some external pressure here from supporters and media types that has prevented them from bringing him back? Because he's eligible to play, Noah Bolter.
It was very strange. The fact is he's pleaded guilty for me is enough to suggest just wait for the court's decision.
Yeah, so 2 more weeks.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any value in it.
I think this is, they've bowed to public pressure?
A little bit.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's been pretty strong.
It was pretty strong on the 4 weeks he basically got. 2 practice games, but nobody counts them.
No.
4 weeks for what he did, the vision. I said on my show the other day, Tim, that he would have got 10 weeks if that was on field. So very, very lucky. But let's take a look at the game.
Who wins?
Fremantle just have to win, and they have to win well. It's a good chance to keep their game rolling. It's been building. I'm still not fully sold when you win against West Coast and you beat the Bulldogs, who are missing a few, and the Bulldogs had 63 inside 50s. There's still some areas of improvement for Fremantle. Their ball move from the back half was good. I like their forward fleet now. Their forwards get up high and then they sprint back, and they've got some serious weapons in that part of the ground. Bolton, Dudley, Frederick, and now you add Switkowski. If he can get back somewhere near his best form, that could be the best small forward combination in the league. Big chance for Jai Amos to get back into some form this weekend. If the supply is right, he's probably one that can improve, albeit he was huge in the last 10 minutes, but we haven't seen it across 4 quarters from Jai Amos. Paddy Voss gets a chance to cash in and maybe kick some more goals. And Hayden Young joining the other 2 elite players who are in strong form, Brayshaw and Sarong. If he can get anywhere near his best this year, I think all of a sudden we're talking about Fremantle's big 3 as right up there as the best big 3 in the competition. We've spoken about Smith and Max Holmes, but you got Rosie, Butters, Horne-Francis, you got Goulden, Warner and Heaney. There's a chance that this 3, with Hayden Young in the mix, playing well, and the other 2, I think, have both improved forward of centre. Some of the field kicking from Caleb Strong was elite, and we know that Brayshaw is getting forward and having an impact with goal assists and score. He had 4 goal assists on the weekend and the 20 score involvements the last 2 weeks. So
comfortable?
Comfortable. Has to be comfortable. This is a young side, and they're missing probably their 3rd best player in Lawler, who goes out. 2
more games to get through. Got to get through them quick because news is on us, and then we've got Ruben Jimby, Jack Steele, Henry, and Boxall is in for his debut
Debuting this weekend.
Yeah, he's debuting, no doubt about that. Cornelio, Leake, Harvey Thomas and Toby McMullen in. Daniels goes out injured.
It'll be a coaching masterclass if they got to get up and win this one from Ross Lyon. But I'm going to settle with the Giants. They were pretty impressive last week. And the last game, Port Adelaide taking on the Hawks. Bit of spite in this game.
Yeah, Cochrane, Soldo, Boak and Lorenz come in. Darcy Byrne-Jones is out suspended. Warple, Reeves, Jai Sarong, Henry Huswaite, Will Day goes out. That's a big blow.
Haven't been playing that well, Hawthorn. They're winning. They're a bit like Brisbane. I think there's a lot of improvement to come, but they'll be too good for Port Adelaide in a spiteful clash.